So in this video, I want to talk about mental illness because I feel like within the Jehovah's Witness organization, mental illness is rampant within the congregation. Like, it's really bad. And I would say at least over half of the people within the hall struggle with some type of mental illness. Now, it could be just depression. For me, a lot of the young people that I associated with, they had depression. They were cutting themselves. They were, binge drinking. They were doing other things to cope with their depression. A lot of people suffered from anxiety, the anxiety to constantly have to prove yourself and, make yourself look good within the hall and, then maintain a job and, then maintain a family life or a relationship. That brings on a lot of anxiety by itself. And then some people in the hall are just plain old crazy. Like, they are dealing with some demon. Like, they are insane. And when you come, for me, I came from like a low income, lower middle class area. So whatever area you grew up in, your congregation is going to be reflective of that, right? So I wouldn't say I lived in a bad area, but it definitely was lower income. And when you're around that and you grow up around that and the people around you are surrounded by that lifestyle, the way they handle situations, it would be a lot different if you were in a upper middle class, more wealthy area. I had a sister that my mom, she was really really close to, but this sister was crazy. And on top of that, she was abusive to her children. Now, this sister, she had 3 boys, and though one was a lot older than me, and the other one was a year older than me, and her other son was maybe 3 or 4 years younger than me. And a lot of times she would be abusive in the name of Jehovah. She will beat the bricks off of her kids. Like, I remember one time, one of her sons, they didn't do something. Maybe they didn't do the dishes or clean their room. And she asked them to do it at the beginning of the day. So we spent the whole day with her. We went to her house. She asked her son to do something. He didn't do it. So we left the house. We maybe went to the movies or went to the park or whatever. And we're driving back to the house, and it's out of nowhere, she just slaps the crap out of him. Like, driving her car, one hand on the wheel, slaps the crap out of him. And she's like, don't think I forgot what you did earlier. And it was almost as if, she wanted him to get to the happiest moment. We were laughing, we were cracking jokes. And she decided to hit him at the moment of his happiest point in the day. She decided just to slap the crap out of him in that moment. And me and her other son just sat in the back seat with our mouth open. And that wasn't the only time I've witnessed them like getting beat to death. And it was always because, Jehovah don't want you to do this, or Jehovah doesn't want you to do that. And I'm like, this is like the most traumatic experience. My mom, she even used to beat me like crazy when I was like younger. And she used to beat me so bad when I was younger that the elders had to pull her to the side and were like, you know what, you're beating your daughter too much. Like, you don't need to beat her that much, because of how much she was beating me. And then after that, she never spanked me again. Like, she stopped, because she realized that she was treating me like how her mom used to treat her when she would go to the hall. Because my grandmother, she was super abusive, And again, that talks about, that goes to show you that, the organization has a lot of people that have mental illness. My grandmother, she used to abuse my aunts and uncles. And this is why my family would be considered like a liberal Jehovah's Witness family, because my aunts and uncles did not grow up in a liberal household. My grandma was abusive. She used to tie them to the bed and put petroleum jelly all over their body and beat them with the extension cord. And this woman was a pioneer. Okay, she would like leave the house and not come back home for days at a time, and they would have no food to eat. And my uncle would tell us stories about him working at McDonald's, and then all the money, all the food that was left over at McDonald's, he would come home and bring it for my mom and my other aunts so they can have something to eat for the day. And here's this sister pioneer going door to door trying to get people to come into the truth, come into Jehovah's organization, and she's abusing her children, right? And then another layer of mental illness is that, people that really need to be on prescription medications, they use the Bible to avoid that, as if Jehovah and the principles within the Bible are going to help them work through their traumas or whatever they're dealing with mentally. There was this brother. Now, this is not my story. It's a friend of mine's story. She dated this brother and she didn't know he had schizophrenia. And basically, she liked him, but he just started acting weird. So she broke up with him. So he would like follow her to work and follow her to her job, and then like come to her house and like sit outside her front door. And she said one day she came home and she had roses and a card, but there was like perfume sprayed all over the roses. Like it was like someone had took the bottle and opened it and poured the perfume all over the roses. And basically what the brother did, she said that she liked his cologne, so he basically opened the bottle and poured the entire bottle of cologne on the roses and on a card, and was trying to like win her back. And it got so bad that she had to tell the elders, and ideally she should have told the police, because he was literally stalking her, about what he was doing. And the only way she got him to leave her alone was the elder said that they were gonna, because he was a servant, they were gonna take his privileges away if he didn't leave her alone. So imagine this man becoming an elder, right, with schizophrenia, and it didn't even take his privileges away, and he was literally stalking her. That's some crazy stuff. And and so, he left her alone and she was okay. But I'm like, that's dangerous. That's scary. And back to, me mentioning like I living in a low income area. When you live in those type of areas, field service is dangerous. If there's like people that are selling drugs on the street, or like gang members or whatever, they pretty much leave you alone, and if they know you're a witness, they've seen you up and down the block before. So basically they're okay. But when you enter into territories like that, you again meet people that are not mentally together, right? And then those people come to the Kingdom Hall, and then those people become Jehovah's Witnesses, and then they're still dealing with other traumas that they have to go home to, and then spreading that energy within the congregation. There was a sister in my hall. We used to make fun of her because she always had the craziest Bible studies, like mentally something wrong with them. And she would go out in a ministry, and I would tell the brothers not to send her by herself, because she would always have these Bible studies that just wasn't right in the head. And I was afraid for her to even enter into their homes, because I would think that they want to rob her. And my mom, she would get these crazy Bible studies where they would be in a mental institution, and I guess because they burned bridges with their own family, they'll call the people in the congregation, and my mom would always be the one to get called to go pick them up, to take them home, because they don't have a ride from whatever facility they're in. And the even crazier part about that is those are the ones that would get baptized. I rarely, at least in my area, seen someone that had a good head on their shoulders get baptized outside of people that grew up in the religion, or if they had family members that were Jehovah's Witnesses. But people just off the street, that door-to-door ministry was kind of useless because we were only bringing in more crazy people into the organization. Even with me thinking about it right now, I'm like, no wonder I was depressed. No, no wonder I had so much anxiety, because I'm hanging around all this energy, like all this negative energy, and everyone in the hall is just trying to pray their sadness away and pray their stress away, and they're all trying to pray it away. But really, and honesty, we all could have just used the prescription. We could have used some type of therapy, you know. I remember telling a brother when that I was dating him before I dated my husband. I remember telling him, I was like, I'm just really, really depressed, and it was because, like I mentioned before in my other videos, like I get really depressed when I'm not moving forward. I'm a hyper focused person. I'm a hyper obsessive person. But when you're single and you're a witness and a woman in the Jehovah's Witness organization, there's not really room for you to grow. So I was getting like really depressed because I didn't know my place in life. Like, am I just supposed to knock on people's doors for the rest of my life? And he would say to me, well, you serve the true God. Jehovah is a happy God. Why are you depressed? You should never be depressed because Jehovah is a happy God. And, and I remember just like sitting on those words and just feeling like crap. Like, well, what do you mean by that? And then, people would say, oh, well, read this Watchtower article, or read this, or pray more. And I'm like, those things literally do not help me. And it wasn't until I stepped out of that bubble and realized I was depressed because this is not who I'm supposed to be. This is not the person. I'm not supposed to be knocking on people's doors 5 times a week. I'm not supposed to be, hanging out with people that I have nothing in common with. I'm not doing anything in life that I actually enjoy, and that is giving me anxiety, and that is making me depressed, But imagine those people that never stepped outside of that bubble, and they think, oh, if I keep doing more in the Kingdom Hall, I'll feel better, and I'm not feeling better because I'm not doing enough. And then they become super Jehovah's Witnesses and super arrogant, and they just become super extra. And I just feel like all of that is just masking a layer of sadness, a layer of depression. And I was that person, and I reflect on it, and I think about the people that treat me the worst, was like the meanest to me, or I just didn't like how extra they were. And I'm like, those were probably the saddest people in the Kingdom Hall, the saddest. Even I say all the time, I spent a lot of time with the pioneers, and the pioneers would give me the scoop. Okay, witnesses, they can talk, and when you sit in the car long enough, by hour 5, they telling everybody's business. And you'll be so surprised that this elder and his wife been married for 30 years, pillars within the congregation, and they're on the verge for a divorce, or they don't sleep in the same bed. Like, I remember there was this elder in my hall. He ended up passing away, and I went to go visit them, and the wife comes downstairs, and she's like, oh, can you go get something out of your dad's room? And I'm like, dad's room? Why does dad have his own room? Well, apparently they didn't even sleep in the same bed together. They didn't even sleep in the same room. Like, dad had his own room and mom had her own room. And I'm like, wow. And he's an elder. You have to stay married to someone. If one doesn't cheat, one of y'all don't take the L and cheat on the other, then y'all just stay married. Both two stubborn people, miserable. And then then you have to deal with that depression. That person has to deal with the depression. The family has to deal with that depression. And then the congregation subsequently has to deal with that depression. All because we're all doing stuff that we think is supposed to be better and supposed to make our life happy. But in reality, it's fake. It's not real happiness. And those people are miserable. Okay? Don't let them trick you into thinking that they're happy. They are not. I spent hours in the service with these sisters. They are not happy. They are pretending. And you know what? It may just be my area because, like I said, everyone was poor. But these people are not happy. And I pray for them, because at the end of the day, I love some of those people, and I wish one day that something will click for them, so that they can actually find true happiness. But maybe I'm doing that with just sharing these videos. Who knows? But anyway, that's it for this video.